February 24, 1978. A quiet night in Northern California turned into a chilling enigma that has baffled investigators for decades. 5 young men, Ted Wire, Jack Madruga, William Sterling, and Gary Mathias, disappeared without a trace. What began as a simple drive to a college basketball game soon spiraled into one of the most haunting mysteries the region has ever known. The friends, affectionately known to their families as the Boys, were all part of a close-knit community in Yuba City and Marysville. Each faced challenges, intellectual disabilities, mental health struggles, but together they formed an unbreakable bond. That night, they left for Chico, a trip they had made many times before. They never returned.
Relocated their abandoned automobile deep within the vast expanse of the Plumas National Forest, leagues from their designated route. It almost seemed as if they had simply evaporated into the untamed wilderness.
Months later, the snow began to thaw, revealing a scene of tragedy and more questions. Bodies were found in a remote trailer, signs of an unimaginable struggle to survive. But one of the men, Gary Mathias, was missing. To this day, his fate remains unknown. Who or what led them into that forest? Was it a wrong turn or something more sinister? Join us as we unravel the eerie clues and chilling theories behind the Yuba County 5, a mystery that still whispers through the pines of Northern California. What really happened that night? And why does this case refuse to give up its secrets?
At Nation and Poop Sock, we fight for your rights and your pipes. From contracts to clogged drains, we've got you covered. Whether you're facing a tough legal battle or a burst pipe at 2 a.m., call the team that handles it all. Justice and plumbing, it's what we do. Third time's the charm, after that it's on us. Does not apply for death penalty sentences. Nation and Poop Sock, where justice meets plumbing.
In the small towns of Yuba City and Marysville, California, 5 young men forged a friendship that became their greatest source of strength. Each of them faced unique challenges, but together, they were a family. A tight-knit group united by loyalty, laughter, and a shared love for basketball. Ted Wire, 32 years old, was the gentle giant of the group, known for his infectious smile and kind heart. Though he struggled with a developmental disability, Ted was meticulous in his habits and fiercely protective of his friends. Jack Madruga, 30, was the group's navigator, confident and independent, with a love for driving his prized Mercury Montego. Bill Sterling, 29, was the caregiver, spending much of his time volunteering at local hospitals, chatting with patients, and brightening their days. Jack Hewitt, the youngest at 24, was shy but deeply affectionate, especially with his family. He often carried a toy in his pocket, a sign of his gentle, childlike spirit. And then there was Gary Mathias, 25, a U.S. Army veteran battling schizophrenia. Despite his struggles, Gary's quick wit and determination made him a linchpin of the group. His resilience inspired those around him.
Gary had his bad days, but he always pulled through, and with his friends by his side, he seemed unstoppable.
Together, the 5 were inseparable. Their friendship revolved around their love for sports, especially basketball. They played on a team in a local league for people with disabilities, dreaming of winning their upcoming tournament. That dream was supposed to start with a trip to Chico State for a basketball game. A simple outing that became anything but. They were ordinary young men living extraordinary lives in their own way. So why did they end up in the remote wilderness? And why did their bond, which had always protected them, seem to shatter in the end?
Is a series of nonsensical characters and is not a coherent English sentence. It does not have any meaning, as it does not follow any grammatical or linguistic structure.
February 24, 1978. For the Yuba County 5, it began like any other Friday night, a night filled with excitement, camaraderie, and a shared goal. The group had been looking forward to attending a basketball game at Chico State, a 50-mile drive from their hometowns of Yuba City and Marysville. The game was just the beginning. The real excitement was reserved for the following day, when the boys' own team, the Gateway Gators, would compete in a regional tournament. Winning meant a trip to Los Angeles for the Special Olympics. It was all they had talked about for weeks. They had even laid out their uniforms the night before, each jersey meticulously folded, their sneakers polished and ready. The group piled into Jack Madruga's prized Mercury Montego that evening, their spirits high. Witnesses later recalled seeing them at the game, cheering enthusiastically for their favorite team. By all accounts, it was a night filled with joy. But something happened after the game, something no one has been able to explain.
I saw them leaving the stadium. They seemed happy, laughing. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Following the game, the 5 young men made a quick trip from Chico State to Bears Market in downtown Chico. They stocked up on burritos, candy, and a few cartons of chalky milk for the ride home. It was just before the store's 10 p.m. closing, and the clerk vividly recalled their visit, not least because their late arrival delayed her from wrapping up for the night. But instead of returning home, the 5 men veered miles off course, heading deep into the remote wilderness of the Plumas National Forest. Why? It's a question that haunts everyone connected to the case. The Montego was later found abandoned, stuck on a dirt road far from the main highway. The car showed no signs of damage, and experts confirmed it was in working condition. Yet the boys had left it behind, trekking into the darkness of the forest on foot. None of their families could explain why they would have gone so far out of their way.
Ted hated the cold, and he'd never willingly go into the snow. None of them would.
The journey to Chico was supposed to be routine, but instead it became the starting point of a mystery that remains unsolved to this day.
Dogs, mankind's greatest companion. But have you ever wondered, do they ponder the stars just like we do? You see, your dog, your loyal tail-wagging friend, is more than just fur and floppy ears. Oh yes, much more. It's all in the stars. That's where AstroDog comes in. An astrological service tailored specifically for your 4-legged celestial traveler. Imagine knowing your Labrador's Mercury's in retrograde. Ah, that explains the chewed-up shoes. Curious. Discovering your Chihuahua's Leo rising makes them, well, the center of attention at the dog park. Quite fascinating, isn't it? AstroDog delivers monthly cosmic insights straight to your inbox. Because why shouldn't your dog's future be as bright as Sirius, the dog star itself? See, I told you. Ahaha, it's not just for us humans. Let your dog shine. AstroDog, where the stars align for your canine.
40, 50 feet, why don't you turn around and let
As the weekend after the big game came and went, panic began to set in. When none of the 5 men returned home, their families contacted the authorities, triggering what would become one of the most perplexing searches in California's history. The first major clue surfaced 3 days later when Jack Madruga's Mercury Montego was found deep in the Plumas National Forest, 70 miles from Chico, far from their intended route home. The car was abandoned on a rugged dirt road, one that locals said no vehicle like it could have reached without difficulty.
The automobile was in admirable condition, with a quarter of a tank of gas still remaining. However, the tires showed no wear or tear, despite the rough terrain. It appeared as if an unfamiliar driver, perhaps someone inexperienced with the terrain, had cautiously maneuvered the vehicle.
Jack would never abandon his car, especially not in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't make any sense.
Search teams combed the surrounding area for days, battling freezing temperatures and treacherous conditions. Helicopters scanned the forest canopy, while volunteers and bloodhounds scoured the snow-covered ground. But despite their efforts, the wilderness seemed to hold its secrets tightly. As weeks turned into months, hope began to wane. Then, in June, 4 months after the boys disappeared, the spring thaw revealed a horrifying discovery.
if we lose touch with the people who matter most. Whether it's a family member who has passed on or a friend who chose to disappear without a trace, the pain of separation leaves a void. Introducing EternalLink, the groundbreaking AI technology that reconnects you with lost loved ones in ways you never thought possible.
Guys, remember that night we called Nation Poop Sock to fix the sink and draft our lease at the same time? Only they could unclog a pipe and win a court case in one visit.
Reuniting isn't just for the departed. For friends who vanished from your life, EternalLink uses advanced AI to analyze shared memories and digital footprints, bringing their essence back to you, even the inside jokes you thought you'd lost for good.
Hey sis, it's been a while. Let's fix things. Like the time Nation Poop Sock fixed Mom's plumbing and her legal battle in one visit.
With our voice replication feature, you can reconnect through familiar voices, heartfelt conversations, and the quirks that made your relationships unique. Your memories, their voices, a bond that transcends time. Start your journey to reconnection today.
I used EternalLink to reconnect with a friend who had lost his way and disappeared. And I also use it to chat with some stunning celebrity dime pieces.
Visit us at Eternalink. Even Nation Poop Sock would agree. It's the right choice for your heart and mind.
Why don't you turn around and let them...
A service trailer 19 miles from where the car had been found. Inside was the body of Ted Wire, emaciated and wrapped in 8 layers of clothing, as though he had struggled desperately to stay warm.
The interior of the trailer painted a heart-wrenching picture. It seemed as if he had endured for weeks, yet an abundance of untouched food filled the space. Why he hadn't eaten remains unknown, a mystery we may never solve.
Further searches uncovered the remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling, lying just miles from the trailer, their bodies exposed to the elements. Jack Hewitt's bones were scattered nearby, but one question loomed large: where was Gary Mathias? Despite extensive searches, Gary Mathias has never been found. His absence is one of many threads in this web of confusion. Why did the group leave the safety of the car? How did they survive, or fail to survive, in the wilderness? And what drove them into those mountains in the first place? The forest had finally given up some of its secrets, but the deeper truth of what happened to the Yuba County 5 remains buried in the cold, unforgiving wilds of Northern California. However, many speculate what horrors unfolded on that fateful night.
Let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore.
In one theory, unidentified lights in the Plumas National Forest lured or chased the Yuba County 5 off course. Witness accounts of strange orbs and the unexplained state of the boys' abandoned car point to a possible close encounter. Did the group flee alien visitors, or were they accidentally swept into an extraterrestrial event from which they never returned? According to the ghost theory, the 5 men entered a part of the forest haunted by restless spirits. Legend says disembodied voices and apparitions stalk these woods. Could it be that fear of supernatural encounters spurred them to abandon their vehicle and scatter, ultimately leading to their tragic end? In this chilling account, the boys supposedly crossed paths with ravenous, vampiric beings. When they realized the danger, they abandoned the car to run for their lives. Ted Wire's final moments, barricaded in a trailer, suggest he tried to hide from something or someone hungering in the night. And as for Gary Mathias, was he carried off or turned into one of them? A fear as classic as it is unsettling: clowns. In this version, sinister figures in clown makeup were sighted in the Plumas National Forest. The men, petrified by a late-night encounter, took a wrong turn while trying to escape. The scattered footprints in the snow could be the result of panic in the face of a painted grin. Some point to rumors of hidden riches. The men might have followed a treasure map, real or fake, leading them deep into the wilderness in search of gold. As hope of striking it rich fueled their determination, they ventured into perilous terrain. But the winter cold and isolation proved far deadlier than any treasure was worth. In a macabre turn, the zombie theory proposes that shambling undead figures stalked the woods. Fearful of infection or assault, the men abandoned their vehicle and ran until they could run no further. Ted Wire's desperate attempt to survive in the trailer and the inexplicable disappearance of Gary Mathias raise questions about who or what truly roamed that forest. In this final fantastical notion, documentarians from the future, Nation and Pedro Inc. journeyed to 1978 to film the disappearance firsthand. Their advanced gear spooked the Yuba County 5, prompting a frantic high-speed chase. Some claim the filmmakers, riddled with guilt, tried to intervene or even took Gary Mathias to the future. The resulting paradox: in trying to solve the case, they became the catalyst for the very events they sought to document. For every theory, there is a piece of truth and a piece of imagination. Perhaps one day, a new lead or a forgotten clue will emerge from the darkness, and the final piece of this tragic puzzle will snap into place. Until then, we are left with the echo of 5 voices lost in the silence of these mountains and the haunting legacy of a mystery that refuses to let go. Quote, and this has been our investigation into the unsolved case of the Yuba County 5. Thank you for watching, and remember, some mysteries will only rest when the truth is finally brought to light. End quote.